Divorce, he said, holding his coffee without even glancing at me. Sure, I replied, setting down my phone. He paused for a moment. What did you say? I said sure. You. He frowned. Do you think I'm joking? No. I picked up my bag. When do we go to the Civil Affairs Bureau? Lina. He slammed the table. Are you crazy? Where would you go after divorce? You only earn $3,000 a month, can you support yourself? I looked at him. 3,000? He had thought my monthly salary was 3,000 for 3 years already. You're right, I smiled, so let's handle it tomorrow. His face changed. His name is Kevin, my husband. More accurately, my ex-husband. 3 years ago, when we got married, his monthly salary was 5,000, and I had just entered the workforce not long ago. You should stop working for now, he said, wait until the child is older. I was 7 months pregnant, standing in the kitchen of our rented apartment, looking at his serious expression. I'll support you. He patted his chest. At that time I had only been with the company for half a year, with a monthly salary of 8,000. I thought about it and agreed. But I didn't really resign. I found an excuse, saying the company had a project I couldn't leave, and switched to remote work. He believed it. From then on, every month I gave 3,000 to the household, and he thought that was my entire income. What's the use of a woman earning that little money? He scrolled through his phone. Don't you still have to rely on a man? I was washing dishes in the kitchen and didn't say anything. Our daughter Daisy was sleeping in the crib in the living room, her breathing light. I looked at the bubbles in the sink and thought of the number on my bank card. 1,500,000. Over these 3 years, I had been promoted continuously. From an ordinary product manager to a senior product manager, then to product director. Now my monthly salary is 80,000, annual salary 960,000. But Kevin didn't know. He thought my monthly salary was 3,000, staying home to take care of the child, occasionally doing some remote work. Can't you dress up nicer? Kevin suddenly said this. I turned back. What? I said you don't know how to dress up. He didn't even lift his head. Look at you, always plain-faced every day, no femininity at all. I wiped the water from my hands. You don't think about it, I'm so exhausted outside, and when I come home, I have to see your face. Is it easy for me? I stood at the kitchen door, looking at him. He was scrolling through short videos, and on the screen was a girl with exquisite makeup. She knows how to dress up so well. He smiled. That's what a woman is. I didn't say anything. Because I knew saying it wouldn't help. I turned back to the kitchen and continued washing dishes. The sound of water rushing covered the laughter from the living room. That night, lying in bed, I thought of what he said before marriage. I'll be good to you for a lifetime. I'll protect you. You are the person I love the most. Thinking about it now, it's quite ridiculous. I closed my eyes and heard him playing games in the living room. My phone vibrated. It was a message from the company, saying there's a project for me to lead next month, with a bonus of 200,000. I glanced at it and turned off the phone. Daisy turned over, and I gently patted her. She was 2 years old, looking like me. Kevin had said, a daughter is useless, give me a son next. I didn't refute him at the time. But from then on, I started saving money seriously. I knew this marriage wouldn't last long. Discovering his affair was 2 months ago. That day, when I came home from work, his phone was on the coffee table. The screen lit up. It was a Facebook message. Hubby, see you tomorrow, followed by a heart. I was stunned for a few seconds. I picked up the phone. He hadn't set a password. There were many chat records, starting from 3 months ago. Baby misses you wearing the black skirt today, the one you like. Let's have dinner together after work. There were also photos. A young girl with exquisite makeup, smiling at the camera. I sat on the sofa, scrolling up one by one. I saw a transfer record. 20,000. The note was, "Happy birthday, baby." That was last month. I remember that day he said the company was tight on funds, delaying salary. Don't count on me, he said then, I have no money this month either. Daisy happened to have a fever, I took her to the hospital, spending $3,000. All from my own pocket. I looked at the phone screen and suddenly smiled. The door opened, Kevin came back. What are you doing? He saw me holding his phone, and his face changed. Nothing. I handed him the phone, just checking the time. He took it and breathed a sigh of relief. I'll go make dinner. I stood up. Wait. He called me, tomorrow I have overtime, won't come back for dinner. Okay. I walked into the kitchen and opened the fridge. Inside were vegetables bought yesterday and a bag of milk. I took out the milk and heated a cup for Daisy. She sat in the high chair, swinging her little legs, asking me, Mom, is Dad coming back today? Yes. Will Dad play with me then? I paused, yes. But Kevin didn't. After dinner, he nestled on the sofa playing games. Daisy called him from the side, and he waved, go find your mom. Daisy walked away disappointed. I took her to the room and told her a story. She fell asleep quickly, her little hand still clutching my clothes. I looked at her and suddenly thought of a phrase. Children are innocent. Yes, she is innocent. But I'm not. I returned to the living room, Kevin was still playing games. I have a question for you. I sat down. What? He didn't lift his head. Do you have someone you like? His hand shook, and the character in the game died. What did you say? I said, do you have someone you like? Are you sick? He threw down the phone, I'm exhausted every day outside, you do nothing at home, and you suspect me? I'm just asking. No. He stood up, don't be paranoid yourself. I looked at him without speaking. He stormed back to the bedroom and slammed the door. I sat on the living room sofa, looking at the phone on the coffee table. The screen lit up again. Hubby, so happy today, I took out my own phone, took a photo. Then deleted it. I didn't need evidence. Because I didn't plan to entangle with him. I just wanted to confirm one thing. This marriage was over. The next day, I called the company to take leave. Something at home, I said. Daniel was straightforward, no problem, you've been working hard lately, rest for a few days. I hung up and looked at Daisy. She was playing with blocks, her little hands clumsily stacking them. Daisy. If Mom and Dad separate, who would you go with? She tilted her head and thought, with Mom. Why? Because Dad doesn't play with me. I smiled and touched her head. Mom will always be with you. In the afternoon, I went to the law firm. Victor was introduced by a friend, in his 40s, wearing a sharp suit. Ms. Lina, please sit. I sat down and briefly explained the situation. He cheated, I want a divorce. Do you have evidence? Yes. I took out my phone and showed him photos of the chat records. He looked at a few and nodded, this counts as evidence. Anything else? Transfer records. I flipped out a few more screenshots. Very good. He closed his notebook, so, regarding property division, what are your thoughts? I thought, I want to leave with nothing. He was stunned, what? I said, I can leave with nothing. Ms. Lina, are you sure? He was puzzled, according to the law, you have the right to claim at least half of the marital property, and child custody. I know. I interrupted him, but I don't want to entangle with him. But I have my own plans. He looked at me for a while and finally nodded. All right, we'll do as you wish. I stood up, thank you. However, Ms. Lina. He called me, if the other party demands property division, you should be prepared. He won't. I said. Because he thought I had no money. Back home, it was already evening. Kevin hadn't returned, Daisy was watching cartoons alone in the living room. Mom. She saw me and ran over immediately. What's wrong? Dad hasn't come back, I'm hungry. Mom will make you dinner. I walked into the kitchen and opened the fridge. There weren't many vegetables left. I decided to go to the supermarket tomorrow to buy some. While cooking, the phone rang. It was Kevin. Hello? I won't come back for dinner tonight. His voice was impatient. Company entertainment. Okay. And, mind your own business, lass. I didn't speak. He hung up. I put down the phone and continued chopping vegetables. The knife hit the cutting board, one after another, very rhythmic. Daisy peeked at the door. Mom, what are you doing? Making your favorite sweet and sour pork ribs. Yay. She clapped happily. During dinner, Daisy asked, Where's Dad? Dad has something, won't come back for dinner. Oh. She was a bit disappointed but soon happily ate the ribs. I looked at her and suddenly felt very calm inside. These 3 years, I had been enduring. Enduring his indifference, his disdain, his PUA. But now, I didn't want to endure anymore. At night, after Daisy fell asleep, I opened the computer. There was a new email in the inbox from the company. Congratulations on your promotion to Product Vice President, monthly salary adjusted to $120,000. I looked at the screen and smiled. Monthly salary $120,000. Annual salary $1,440,000. And Kevin still thought my monthly salary was $3,000. I turned off the computer and lay on the bed. The streetlights outside were on, light shining through the curtains. I closed my eyes and thought of what to do tomorrow. First step, propose divorce. Second step, handle procedures. Third step, start a new life. Very simple. Divorce. That was what I said yesterday. Kevin thought I was joking, but this morning, when I placed the divorce agreement in front of him, his face completely changed. Are you serious? Yes. I sat on the sofa, very relaxed. Why? He picked up the agreement, flipping page by page. Where did I wrong you? I didn't speak. Speak. He slammed the table. Daisy was scared and started crying in the bedroom. I stood up, walked into the bedroom, and picked her up. It's okay, Mom's here. She lay on my shoulder, her crying gradually subsiding. I patted her back, hearing Kevin throwing things in the living room. Are you sick? He rushed into the bedroom. Divorced just like that, who do you think you are? Kevin. I looked at him. Don't argue in front of the child. What if I do? Daisy cried again. I put her on the bed, turned and walked out of the bedroom, closing the door. What do you want? I asked. I don't agree to divorce. Why? Because. He paused. Because we still have a child. The child goes with me. On what grounds? On the grounds that you've never taken care of her. I looked at him. Do you remember when her birthday is? He was stunned. You don't remember. I said, you also don't know what she likes to eat most, what she's most afraid of, whether she has nightmares at night. That's because I'm busy with work. Then divorce. I said, the child with me, you pay $2,000 in child support monthly. $2,000? He laughed. You think I'm an ATM? Then $1,000. You. If not willing, forget it. I turned toward the door. I'll find a lawyer. Wait. He called me. I turned back. Lina, are you crazy? He came over, staring at me. Where would you go after divorce? You earn $3,000 a month, with a child, can you support yourself? I looked at him. Can I support myself? Of course. My monthly salary is $80,000, annual $960,000. But I didn't say it. You're right. I nodded. That's why I want divorce. What do you mean? If I can't support myself, I can't drag you down even more. I smiled. You're free, and so am I. His face changed several times, finally sneering. Fine, divorce if you want. He picked up his coat, but don't regret it. The door slammed shut. I stood in the living room, hearing Daisy's crying in the bedroom. I went in and picked her up. It's okay now, Mom's here. She sobbed, her little hands tightly clutching my clothes. I held her, walking back and forth in the room, softly humming a song. The sky outside began to brighten. A new day, a new beginning. Kevin agreed to the divorce. He signed the agreement very readily. The house is yours, you pay the loan. He said, I don't want any property, handle it yourself. Okay. Child support, 1,000. Okay. He looked at me with a complex expression. Have you really thought it through? Yes. All right then. He stood up, tomorrow to the Civil Affairs Bureau. I nodded. He walked to the door, suddenly turned back, Lina, you'll regret it. I didn't speak. The door closed. I sat on the sofa, looking at the agreement on the table. House, loan, child, 1,000 in support. Pretty good. Anyway, the house loan was being paid by my company. 20,000 every month, I didn't spend my own money at all. And he thought I had to pay the loan every month and raise the child, couldn't survive. I smiled and took out my phone. Sent a message to Victor, tomorrow to the Civil Affairs Bureau, please help witness. He replied quickly, okay, what time? 10 a.m. No problem. I put away the phone and went to the kitchen to cook. Daisy was playing with blocks in the living room, humming an unknown song in her little mouth. Daisy. Tomorrow Mom takes you to the amusement park, okay? Her eyes lit up, yes. Then be good, don't cry. Yes. I smiled and continued chopping vegetables. The phone rang, it was my best friend Maya. Hello, Lina? It's me. I heard you're getting divorced? Yes, handling procedures tomorrow. You. She paused, have you really thought it through? Yes. That's good. She sighed in relief, I thought you couldn't let go. Let go of what? Let go of him. I smiled, what's there to let go of? True. She said, that scumbag isn't worth it. By the way, how have you been lately? Okay, just a bit busy at the company. She sighed, but hearing you're divorcing, I'm quite happy. Why? Because you've finally come around. She said, you know, these 3 years watching you suffer, it really pained me. I was silent for a moment. Maya, thank you. What thanks, we're sisters. She smiled, by the way, what do you plan after divorce? Continue working, continue living. That's good. I hung up and continued cooking. At night, Daisy ate happily. Mom, this is delicious. Then eat more. She nodded, her little mouth stuffed full. I looked at her, suddenly feeling very calm inside. These 3 years, I had been waiting. Waiting for an opportunity, one to end this marriage. Now the opportunity came. And it was he who proposed the divorce first. This way is best. At the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, the sunlight was glaring. Kevin stood beside, always playing with his phone. Let's go. I said. Wait. He didn't lift his head, my friend hasn't replied yet. I glanced at him without speaking. Victor came over, Ms. Lina, ready? Yes. Then let's go in. Kevin then put away his phone and followed us inside. The staff was professional, asked a few questions, and had us sign. Property division? Agreement divorce, already negotiated. Victor handed the agreement. The staff glanced and nodded. Okay, please confirm both parties. Kevin looked and signed readily. All right now? Please wait, there are some procedures. The staff said. Kevin sat impatiently beside, continuing to play with his phone. I sat opposite him, looking out the window. The sky was very blue, clouds very white. By the way, Ms. Lina. Victor suddenly said, regarding your property declaration, you need to provide income proof. I was stunned. What? It's procedure, both parties need to provide income proof to confirm if the property division is reasonable. Oh. I nodded, I know. Did you bring it now? Yes. I took out a file bag from my purse. This is my salary statement and tax slips. Victor took it, opened and looked. Then, he lifted his head, looking at me with some surprise. Ms. Lina, your monthly salary is 80,000. I said. Instantly, the whole hall quieted. Kevin's phone dropped to the ground. He lifted his head, staring at me, his expression from confusion to shock, finally to disbelief. What did you say? I said, my monthly salary is 80,000. I looked at him, annual salary 960,000. He opened his mouth but couldn't speak. How is that possible? His voice trembled, aren't you 3,000 monthly? When did I ever say my monthly salary is 3,000? I smiled, you assumed it yourself. He was stunned. The staff was a bit awkward, cleared throat, Mr. He, are you sure to proceed according to this agreement? Kevin didn't speak, just stared at me intently. Lina. What? I looked at him, any problem? Why didn't you say earlier? You didn't ask. I stood up, besides, didn't you say the little money I earn is useless? His face turned pale. Now? I smiled, my 1 month's salary is enough for you to work a year. The staff handed 2 red booklets. These are your divorce certificates, please keep them. I took them, glanced, and put into my bag. Thank you. As I turned to leave, I heard Kevin's voice behind. Lina. Wait. I didn't turn back. Lina. Let's talk. I walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, sunlight on my body, very warm. Daisy was waiting in the car, happily waving when she saw me. Mom. I walked over, opened the car door, and picked her up. Let's go, Mom takes you to the amusement park. Yay. Behind, Kevin chased out. Lina. Wait. I didn't turn back, got in the car. Let's go. I said to Tom. The car started, Kevin stood in place, his expression indescribable. I looked in the rearview mirror, his figure got smaller and smaller, finally disappearing. I turned my head, looking at Daisy. Happy? Happy. That's good. I leaned back in the seat and closed my eyes. Finally, it was over. In the first week after divorce, I received Kevin's call. Hello? Lina, I want to see you. Anything? He paused, I want to talk to you. Nothing to talk about. Lina, please. His voice carried pleading, just meet once, okay? I was silent for a few seconds. All right, tomorrow afternoon 3 p.m., old place. Okay, thanks. I hung up and looked out the window. The old place was the coffee shop where we had our first date. Back then, he was still a poor guy, even considering the price to treat me to coffee. I smiled and shook my head. The next afternoon, I arrived at the coffee shop on time. Kevin was already there, sitting in the corner, looking much more haggard. Lina. He stood up, you're here. Yes. I sat down, what's the matter? He looked at me with a complex gaze, I want to apologize to you. Apologize? Yes. He lowered his head, these 3 years, I wronged you. I shouldn't have cheated, shouldn't have disdained you, shouldn't have said those words. I didn't speak, just looked at him. I know I was wrong. He lifted his head, can we start over? I smiled. Start over? Yes. Hope appeared in his eyes, I'll change, I swear. Kevin. I looked at him, why do you think I would start over with you? Because. He was stunned, because we once loved each other, we still have a child. Then why did you cheat? I interrupted him. He couldn't speak. Why did you disdain my figure when I was pregnant? Why, during my confinement, wouldn't you even bring me soup? Why, when Daisy was sick, did you say no money, then turn and transfer 20,000 to Mia? With each sentence, his face paled more. Lina. You regret now because you found out I have money, right? I smiled. If I really had 3,000 monthly, would you talk to me like this? He opened his mouth but ultimately said nothing. I stood up. Thank you for making me see clearly that humility in marriage is self-inflicted. As I turned to leave, he suddenly knelt down. Lina. Please. Give me a chance. I stopped, turned back to look at him. He knelt on the ground, eyes red, looking pitiful. But I didn't soften. I remembered those nights, alone with Daisy, her fever and crying, me holding her anxiously waiting in the hospital corridor. I remembered those moments, preparing dinner waiting for him to come home, but he messaged saying not coming back. I remembered those words, him saying I'm useless, can't earn money, don't know how to dress up. Kevin. I looked at him, you know? Your kneeling doesn't pain me at all. He was stunned. Because 3 years ago, I knelt to your mom for 50,000. I smiled. Back then my dad was hospitalized, your mom said each person's parents, each person's pain. Now it's your turn to kneel, and I want to say one thing. Each person's life, each person lives. I turned and walked out of the coffee shop. Behind came his crying, but I didn't turn back. The sunlight was glaring. I put on sunglasses and walked to the car parked by the road. Tom opened the door, I got in. Back to the company. The car started, I looked at the street scenery outside. This city is still that city, but I'm no longer the me from 3 years ago. Back at the company, Daniel talked to me. Lina, you did great on this project. He smiled. The company decided to give you a new position. What position? Product Vice President. He said, monthly salary 120,000, annual 1,440,000. I was stunned. How about it, interested? Of course. I smiled. Thank you, Daniel. This is what you deserve. He patted my shoulder. Work hard, the company values you. Walking out of the office, I stood in the corridor, looking at the city outside the floor-to-ceiling window. Monthly salary 120,000. I thought of Kevin kneeling, suddenly feeling very ironic. He thought my monthly salary was 3,000, couldn't live without him. But he didn't know, now my monthly salary is 120,000, annual 1,440,000. I'm much stronger than him. The phone rang, it was Maya. Hello, Lina, heard you got promoted? Yes, Daniel just notified me. Wow, congrats. She was happy. Celebrate together tonight? Sure. By the way, how's Kevin? Nothing. I said. He wanted to reconcile, I refused. Serves him right. She laughed. This kind of man should regret for life. I laughed too. At night, Maya and I ate at the restaurant. You know, I saw Kevin today. She suddenly said. Where? Downstairs at the company. She said, he stood there for a long time, seemed waiting for you. Then? Then I went over and asked what he was doing, he said wanted to see you. She smiled. I said you won't see him, let him give up. What did he say? He didn't speak, just left. She took a sip of wine, looked quite down and out. I didn't speak, just ate. Lina, you won't soften, right? She looked at me. No. I shook my head. I just think it's quite ridiculous. How so? He thought I couldn't leave him, now it's him who can't leave me. I smiled. Is this retribution? Of course. She raised her glass. Come, toast to your new life. Cheers. The glasses clinked, making a crisp sound. Back home, it was already 10 p.m. Daisy was asleep, Lily was watching TV in the living room. Ms. Lina, you're back. Yes, thanks for your hard work. Not hard, Daisy is very good. Lily packed and left. I walked into Daisy's room. She slept soundly, her little hand still holding the toy bear. I sat by the bed, looking at her. Daisy, Mom will give you the best life. I said softly, I promise. She turned over, mumbled something, and fell asleep again. I stood up, walked out of the room, and closed the door. Standing on the balcony, looking at the distant lights. This city finally belongs to me. Kevin didn't give up. He kept calling me, sending messages, even waiting downstairs at the company. Lina, please, give me a chance. I really know I was wrong. Can we start over? I didn't reply. Until one day, he blocked me at the company entrance. Lina. I stopped, looking at him. He had lost a lot of weight, stubbly beard, looking very disheveled. What do you want? I frowned. I want to talk to you. He said, just a moment, please. I looked at my watch, 10 minutes. Okay. We sat on the bench downstairs at the company. He looked at me, hesitating. Speak. I said. Lina, I know I wronged you. He lowered his head, but I really want to change, I swear, in the future I'll be good to you, good to Daisy. Then what? I interrupted him. What? Then what? I looked at him, you be good to me, good to Daisy, then what? He was stunned. Do you think I'll forgive what you did in the past 3 years just because of your words? When you cheated, did you think of me? I smiled. When you transferred 20,000 to Mia, did you think of Daisy being sick and me not having money? When you said I don't dress up, did you think how tiring it is for me to take care of the child alone? His face turned pale. I didn't. You did. I stood up. You had many chances to be good to me, but you didn't. Now you regret because you found out I'm richer than you, right? He didn't speak. Kevin, we can't go back. I looked at him, not because you cheated, but because you never truly loved me. You just needed someone at home to cook for you, take care of the child, listen to you. And I am not that person. I turned to leave, he shouted behind. Lina. I didn't turn back. Lina. You'll regret it. I stopped, turned back to look at him. The only thing I regret is not leaving you earlier. Then, I walked away without turning back. A month later, I heard Kevin and Mia broke up. Mia proposed it. Maya said, because she found out Kevin has no money. Oh. I nodded, no expression. Heard Kevin is miserable now, fired by the company, renting in an old neighborhood. She said gloatingly, serves him right. Why no reaction? She looked at me. Because it has nothing to do with me. I took a sip of coffee, whether he lives well or not has nothing to do with me. She smiled, true, you're so good now, who cares about him? Indeed, I'm living well now. Monthly salary 120,000, work smooth, Daisy healthy. Last week I bought a 2 million house, Riverview, good lighting. After renovation, Daisy and I moved in. Mom, this is so big. Daisy ran around in the new home, very happy. Like it? Like. I smiled, touched her head. Then we'll live here from now on. Yes. At night, I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, looking at the lights across the river. Daisy fell asleep on the sofa, her little hand still holding the remote. I went over, carried her back to the room, and covered her with the blanket. Mom loves you. I said softly. Back in the living room, the phone rang. It was an unknown number. I hesitated and didn't answer. It rang again, still that number. I looked and finally pressed mute. Whoever it was, I didn't want to answer. Because now, I just want to live well. 1 year later. I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window of the new home, holding coffee, looking at the river view outside. Sunlight sprinkled on the river surface, sparkling, a few yachts slowly passed. Daisy was playing with toys in the living room, humming nursery rhymes learned from kindergarten. Mom, look at the castle I built. She held up the blocks. So beautiful. I smiled. Shall we go to the park later? Yes. This year, I got promoted, from product vice president to product VP, monthly salary raised to $150,000. Bought a new car, changed to a new house, Daisy went to a good kindergarten. Life finally proceeded as I wanted. By the way, Lina. Maya called, do you know Kevin's recent situation? No. I said, don't want to know. I'll tell you. She smiled, he now rents in an old neighborhood, work not smooth, heard he changes jobs often. Also, he wants to see Daisy, but you didn't agree, right? Yes. I said, he has no right to see her. Well said. She agreed, this kind of man, the farther the better. I didn't speak more, just looked out the window. Kevin, the man who once made me humble, now has no relation to me. Whether he lives well or not isn't important. What's important is I live well. Hung up, I took Daisy to the park. Good sunlight, she ran on the grass, laughter crisp. I sat on the bench, looking at her, feeling calm inside. Mom. She ran over, I want ice cream. Okay, Mom buys for you. We walked to the ice cream cart, I bought one for her. Thank you, Mom. She licked happily. I looked at her and smiled. This is the life I want. Simple, happy, free. Back home, it was evening. I made dinner and ate with Daisy. Mom, so happy today. She said. That's good. After dinner, she went to bathe, I cleared the table. The phone rang. Unknown number. I glanced, hesitated a few seconds. Didn't answer. It rang again, still that number. I turned off the phone and walked to the balcony. Night fell, lights across the river lit up, very beautiful. I didn't know who called. Maybe Kevin, maybe others. But I didn't want to know. Because now, I don't need anyone. I have Daisy, work, my own life. That's enough. Turned back to the living room, Daisy came out after bath, hair still wet. Mom, tell me a story. Okay. I took her back to the room, told her a bedtime story. She fell asleep quickly, little hand clutching my clothes. I looked at her, gently kissed her forehead. Good night, baby. Walked out of the room, I stood in the corridor, looking at this new home. Living room, bedroom, study, every corner I arranged personally. Here is the home belonging to me and Daisy. Outside the window, lights on the river surface twinkled. I walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, looking at the distant night view. Turns out the best revenge is living better than him. I smiled, turned back to the bedroom. A new day is about to begin.